Just the video all day.
Well, and my youngest and his fiance were going to get married when he got back from Poland. With everything going to Ukraine, we raced to Colorado to do a quick wedding before he came, so that just in case. And I'm like, don't say those words to him. You can take him up just in case.
Yeah. Right.
But so yeah, it's been kind of chaotic. So I think we're as ready as we're going to be though. So. And now we just need, Russia to go back to Russia.
Right. Yeah. Stay there forever.
Just disappear forever. Either one I'm okay with. So.
Yeah, anything you want.
We're going out front.
I was for a long time.
All right, well, great to see you. Place. Were you nervous?
Well, I haven't seen it.
And then I went to a dinner with her and I met Val. And then she met my executive director a couple days. So I'm thinking about just through work.
Ready to begin here. Welcome to our March Luncheon. My name is Laura Claprank, and I serve on the board for Black Hills Leadership Development. I know we have a couple new faces here today, so if you're not familiar with our luncheons, these luncheons were designed as an opportunity to come and network with your peers while hearing from these dynamic speakers that we have or leaders that we have in our community. And we're so fortunate to have this dynamic leader and speaker today, especially during the month of March, which is traditionally a month to honor women. So we're very excited for Renae. But before we hear from her, I'd like to recognize and thank Black Hills Federal Credit Union. They are our sponsor for today's luncheon. And each month we truly appreciate our sponsors, as we wouldn't be able to hold these events without their support. So I'd like to invite Holly Jones up. Holly is the Chief Administrative Officer at Bhfcu, and she's going to share a little bit more about the credit union.
Thanks, Laura. Good morning, for a few more minutes anyway. As she said, my name is Holly Jones. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer for Bhfcu. Many of you are probably members of our credit union, but just wanted to give you a little bit of history. We've been around since 1941. We actually have over 85,000 members, so we're a financial cooperative. We offer full service banking, so consumer loans, auto, mortgages, business loans. We have a whole business support team. We also have online and mobile banking. Our ITMs, many of you have probably used. If you haven't, you should really try them. They're amazing. And then we have a lot of other products, ancillary products that we can offer. So a full service suite of support for all of our members that we can provide. We currently have 15 locations across South Dakota. Very soon, if you've been on the south side of town, you'll see our 16th location coming up here soon on 5th in Minnesota. So we're looking forward to opening that later this summer. If you've been in that area, and you've probably seen it because our ITM is there. So lots of people are used to going there. So we're really excited about that. But really happy to be a part of this series. We really believe in employee and leader development. As an employer, one of our goals is to be a best employer in the area. So we believe that anything we can do to benefit our employees is good for the whole community. So we're happy to have Renae. She's a rock star on our team, but we're happy to have her share everything that she's brought to the credit union too. So thank you very much.
You guys can continue to network, enjoy your lunch, and then we'll reconvene a little bit before noon when we'll hear from Renae. And then if you haven't gotten your name in a business or put your business card in our bucket back there at the registration table, we're going to be doing a drawing for a free luncheon and then a couple books. This one that Renae recommended is called The Advantage by Patrick Lenciani. Is that how you pronounce it? Yeah. And then a book that Renae donated, which is Everyone Deserves a Great Manager. So continue to enjoy your lunch, and we'll come back a little bit before 12.
Are you in the finance area?
I'm in finance now. I was in tax.
Where she has the opportunity to promote personal and professional growth in the community. I quickly learned this from Renae when I kind of been getting to know her over the last couple months, but she has this very natural and genuine, just a way of inspiring you to do better and be better. And she probably doesn't even realize she's doing that. But when she's enjoying life outside of her career, Renae spends time adventuring with the love of her life and trying to keep her daredevil teenager alive. Please help me welcome Renae Hicks.
I asked Laura to give me a few extra minutes today, so thank you for starting 5 minutes early. I have 60 minutes to fit into 45. So y'all just need to listen to that, okay? I would first like to say thank you for joining us today to make the choice to invest in yourselves. I'm so glad you're here. And if you have been coming to these luncheons for a long time, this may be a little less traditional than you're used to. If I was a chief financial officer, I would have brought a spreadsheet for you today. But since I'm not, we can all just take a sigh of relief. I am not happy about using spreadsheets. So, but I am happy about having fun, which is why on your tables, you all have 10 nails in a 2x4 block. And this is a competition. What I would like you to do at your table, my credit union folks, don't give any hints, okay? I know you know how to do this. I would like you to take all 10 nails and balance them on the head of the one. It is possible. It is possible. You can't use any fasteners or tape, so if you have duct tape with you, keep that in your purse. We're not using that today. And those are the only instructions. The time starts now. Balance all 10 nails on the head of the one.
Got to keep it on the table.
Like, I want to see her do it.
We have one table who completed this in record time. So I want to give congratulations to the table in the front over here. Did anyone else complete the activity? Would you like to know how?
Yes.
Okay. I would love if we could get a volunteer from our tables who know how to do this to go give instructions to every other table except this one because they got it. So volunteers, please. You go show people how it's done. Yeah.
Now, alternating the head of the piece. And then put the other one the other way.
So we,
Yeah.
so then the
Take, follow that pattern.
you'll do that.
And your last one, you are going to
I didn't know we were shooting for record time. I would participate.
Close enough.
As Renae made the cake.
To our volunteers for helping complete this at the table. Did everybody get a successful structure after you were shown how? Yes? Yes? Isn't that amazing? I have two questions for you. The first question is to get us all on the same page, and that question is, what is feedback? So I'm talking about creating and fostering a culture of feedback today. I'd like to know, what is feedback to you? Very cool. Constructive. Feedback is constructive. Yes. What else? Specific.
Letting you know what you're doing right or wrong.
Beth Ann says, letting you know what you're doing right and what you may need some help with doing correctly. Okay. What else?
Necessary.
Necessary. Yes. I love that.
Timely.
Timely. Also very good.
Inspiring.
Inspiring. Thank you. It can be scary. Yeah. Might be a little uncomfortable to have someone give you feedback because you don't know what they're going to say. And it could be really a vulnerable thing too. So feedback is an amazing, wonderful thing that we can all do. And that's why I'm here today to talk about it, because it's one of my absolute favorite things. So my next question for you is, what does feedback have to do with the activity that you just completed with the nails?
When you get it right, it works.
When you get it right, it works. Learn and keep trying.
We were all getting and giving a lot of feedback during the process.
Yes, we were all getting and giving feedback during the process. Thank you. I believe that every one of us has natural talents that we bring to the table. And sometimes we had a group over here who just did it. They were just able to figure it out. And it wasn't a group, it was a singular person leading the way. She had natural talent, she figured it out. And then there were others in the room who needed someone to show them the way. And that is why you come to events like this, so you can invest in yourself, so you can hone your natural talents, or you can learn something new along the way. So I'd like to thank you for investing in yourself today by being here. I'll ask my tech person to help me.
Maybe you can tell us a joke while you're reading.
Yeah. Oh boy, I'll give it to Jessica. Jessica, can you tell us a joke?
Can I tell the
Yes.
Beethoven one?
I don't care which one.
Oh, I have such good jokes. What is Beethoven's favorite fruit?
We'll have another.
That's such a
The dead.
The joke I told earlier at one of our meetings. How do you weigh millennials? In Instagrams.
I can always count on Jessica for fun dad jokes. I would like to start out by sharing a quote from one of my favorite authors, Simon Sinek. Some of you may know him. He is a leadership expert. Simon says, unfortunately, the practice of leadership is so misunderstood. It has nothing to do with rank. It has nothing to do with authority. Those things may come with a leadership position, and they may help a leader operate with greater efficiency and at a greater scale, but those things do not a leader make. Leadership is not about being in charge. It's about taking care of those in our charge. I'll repeat that. Leadership is about taking care of those in our charge. Those are really powerful words by Simon. And we all, as leaders, have an opportunity to create this environment at work where our teams can thrive and bring their best selves to work every day. And I hope that this message today will help you become a better leader than you were yesterday, and that you'll have some takeaways specifically about feedback to help you elevate your team. And since I'm talking about teams, I'd like to talk about mine for just a few minutes. I have the privilege of leading a 6-person learning and development team. They are a team of rock stars. I just can't speak enough about how much I enjoy that I get to work with them every day. At the credit union, they're responsible for staff-wide initiatives. They develop training on professional development, like EQ, emotional intelligence, business writing, running effective meetings. We're piloting a class on critical thinking, which I'm super excited about. And they also conduct system training for our tellers and loan officers, and regulatory training and security. And there is a lot that runs on the team. And often we have to react quickly. And in order to do that, we need to be a high functioning team so we can deliver what needs to be delivered and do it well. And I am so proud of this team. And I really believe that one of the reasons we are so effective is because we have this culture of feedback that exists. And that does take effort. But once it's going, it's just such a beautiful thing. I believe that one of the most important drivers for a thriving team in any organization is creating an environment where feedback is a normal part of conversation, from leader to employee, employee to leader, and peer to peer. The catch, and there is one, with feedback, if it's not done well, it can break down trust and it can decrease productivity and decrease engagement. So what we want is to do it well, and it can be just the most rewarding and motivating thing for you and for your team. So when I was deciding what I would bring to you today, I got some advice from 2 people who I trust, the love of my life, and my boss and mentor. And both of them told me, talk about the thing that you're most passionate about. And I thought, well, that's feedback and coaching my team. So that led me to boiling down what I do into these 5 main components. And those are building trust, holding one-on-ones, providing regular feedback, don't be a problem solver, which sounds crazy, but I promise it's not. I'll explain that in detail in a little bit. And then the last one is creating this environment for feedback. There is a lot to unpack here, so I will just go over a high level on each one of these components, starting with building trust. This is really the foundation of being able to provide feedback. If you don't have a trusting relationship, it may be difficult for the person receiving the feedback to receive that feedback. So I would like to talk about some ways that you can build trust. The first thing you can do is really simple. It's recognizing that the people you lead have lives outside of work. And it's something so simple, maybe you haven't thought about it. With my team, I like to be as flexible as possible. So I'll give you a few examples. I have one person on my team who has 2 giant dogs. They're like 150 pounds. And in order for her to get those dogs to the vet, it's an event. She needs her and her husband to get them rounded up and get them in the car. And so when she needs to go to the vet, she says, hey, Renae, is it okay if I come to work an hour or so late so I can get my dogs to the vet? Absolutely. As long as training is covered and we're not in danger of missing a deadline, I have the ability to be flexible with the people on my team because I recognize that they have lives outside of work, and I want to do everything I can to accommodate the whole person. It's about caring about the whole person, not just the person who shows up to work every day. Another thing that you can do to create and build trust is connect and check in. If you have people on your team who are stressed, maybe it's a really stressful time at work and you recognize that's happening, check in. Or maybe they have some hard things going on in their home life. ask how they're doing. You don't have to solve everyone's problems, but what you can do is be a compassionate listener. Those things help. One thing that I also do to show flexibility on my team, I have 2 of my trainers, they teach tellers, and they're in the classroom for weeks at a time. And sometimes they're back to back, or they're in the classroom for weeks at a time. And I know that that can be taxing. So I will often check in. I'll say, hey, how's it going? I know you have a couple-day break here. Have you thought about taking any time off? I know you had some things coming up. Do you just need an afternoon? Paid time off is only a benefit if you use it. And I don't want anyone on my team to ever feel like they can't have a day off. And that might be scary to you if you're thinking, if I have that mindset, would everyone just not want to be at work? Are they not going to show up? And I can tell you that that is not what I experience. My team knows that as long as training is covered, we're going to work it out. We can make that happen so they can have the flexibility of balancing their life outside of work. So in talking about trust, I know that the world that we live in doesn't always go perfectly. Maybe trust isn't there, and how do you build it? Well, it could be that you are a new leader to a new team, so you don't know anyone yet. Or it could be that you had a new team member join your team. Or maybe trust is broken. So what do you do to build trust? And this is a question I have for you. 2 of them, actually. Trust is not there. What can you do at an individual level to build trust with people on your team? Get to know them. Thank you, Josh. What else? Be consistent. I love that one. Thank you. Oh, Beth Ann says, do what you say you're going to do. Yes. And be pleasant. Be pleasant. Yes. Good. Anything else? Be an advocate for them. Oh, be an advocate. Thank you, Sheena. The second question, what actions may break down trust?
Breach of confidentiality.
Breach of confidentiality. Thank you, Jessica. Not following through. Very good.
Demeaning the person or being too authoritative over them.
Demeaning or being too authoritative. Thank you for sharing. Apathy. Yeah. Oh, not taking the time to listen. Micromanaging is another one. And if you don't think you micromanage, maybe check in with one of your people and say, hey, don't you think I micromanage? Because your definition of what that is and theirs might be completely different. The important thing here, the reason we talk about these questions, and I wanted you to think about it, is so one, you could hear from the group about ways that you can build trust. And also talking about what we do that breaks it down is important so you can check yourself. Are you doing any of those things that break down trust? Another thing that you can do to build trust is trust your team to do the work. So if you're someone who holds on to everything tight and you don't share anything, that can break down trust. And if you share things and you give opportunities and you believe in them and you support them, that can go a long way towards building it. The other thing that you can do to build trust is hold one-on-ones. This is one of my favorite things. And since all of us might not know what a one-on-one is, I'd like a volunteer to share. What's a one-on-one?
Regular meeting with them, one-on-one, nobody else there.
It says a regular meeting with them, one-on-one, nobody else there. Absolutely. It's dedicated time to sit down with your team member and focus on things like development goals and finding out what challenges they may have. And it's a way for you to give and get feedback. These are focused meetings with a purpose, and they are incredible. So I have some tips for you. I boiled this down to the best things. Hold one-on-ones regularly. When I say regularly, I mean every month. Minimum once a month. Never cancel, always reschedule. Things get busy. Something might not work for you, or it might not work for your team member. The important thing is that you reschedule that meeting. It could be later that week, it could be the next week, but don't just cancel it. If you cancel the meeting, what message do you think that sends to your team member? Exactly. You're not important. Is that Sandy?
Yeah.
Sandy said she had a manager who canceled her one-on-ones all the time. It makes you feel like the time with you doesn't matter. You can start with rapport building and small talk. That's one way you can build relationships. Like Josh said, get to know them. This meeting is about your employee. It's not about you. What that means is they should be doing 80% of the talking. That's really hard for me. I'm so excited to spend any time with the people on my team. And I'm just excited, so I want to talk. And I often say, I'm going to talk less. This meeting is for you. I know you have a lot of things you want to talk about. And I just have to remind myself. Yesterday, during one of my one-on-ones, I had a couple this week, and my one team member said, I wanted to give you some feedback. I know you always say that you should only talk 20% of the time. It's okay if you talk a little more because I'm awkward and I don't like to talk very much. So he actually appreciates that I don't always hold to the 80-20 rule. And just a reminder, this time is to be spent having meaningful discussions with your team. They're meetings with a purpose. And if you're not already holding them, I encourage you to do this. I have some questions that I put up on the screen. These are questions that I may ask in my one-on-ones. What is your next development goal and your plan to take action? What's the biggest challenge you're facing and how can I help support you? What interests you about your current project and why? How are you feeling about the recent change? Does anyone have change in their organizations? Constant state of change. This is a great way to check in. And what should I keep doing, start doing, or stop doing? I ask this question, maybe not with the same words, but I ask it every single one-on-one. If you're not used to your team giving you feedback and you're asking for it, it may take them a little bit of courage to bring something up, especially if it's constructive feedback. Asking this consistently every meeting will let them know that yes, you do mean it. It wasn't just something you said once because you kind of wanted to see if there was anything that was bugging them. Ask it every single time. And the way that you receive that feedback will impact if they ever give you feedback again. So be conscious about your reactions when you get feedback that might be hard. I had another one-on-one this week, and I actually gave this training to my team prior to coming here because they're great about giving feedback. And after that session with them, the pilot session, my team member, we get to the end of our one-on-one worksheet, and she wasn't thinking about what was coming, this last question, and she's like, oh boy, they don't give me feedback very often, even though I ask for it every time. So I said, come on, you gotta give me something. I've been asking for months, please give me something. And she gave me a piece of feedback. I'll be vulnerable and share it with you. She said, Renae, I was looking for 15 minutes with you last week because I had a question. And she's like, I couldn't find 15 minutes. She said, do you think you need to evaluate if you're saying yes too much and what you should maybe be saying no to? And she went on to say the impact. She said the impact of you being so booked is that you don't have time to think about what's coming next and prepare for that. So that can add more stress and it can impact the team. So I need to evaluate how many times I'm saying yes and when I might need to say, no, not right now, but I can do this then, which was amazing. So I'm telling you, if you're not doing one-on-ones, you should be. They are such a beautiful thing. Okay. I've heard managers say this. Maybe you think this, or maybe you said it. My team doesn't need one-on-ones. We talk all the time. I won't ask you to raise your hands. But I will just prep you for this next thing. You may not like what I have to say. If this is your mindset, I I'm telling you, you're wrong. Your team needs time with you. That is an investment in them. And don't let this be you. And if it was you, I hope this is your mindset shift today. I promise I'll get to some good stuff, but just let that soak in. You could be mad at me. I'm all right with that. Point number 3 is about feedback. So we're finally here talking about feedback, and it should be regular and consistent, as one of our attendees brought up. Feedback should be consistent. There are some other things that feedback should be. It should be specific. It should not be vague. I'll give you an example. If all you've ever said to someone is, "Great job. You did such a great job with that. I really love what you did. Thank you." Okay? If I had a happy tone, it was positive, I said great job, it means that I must have liked something. But what does that really do? Do you know what I liked? You have no idea. That is not going to reinforce the behaviors you want repeated. It needs to be specific. So if all you've ever said is great job, make sure you're adding on to that what was great. Feedback is given to improve or sustain top performance. It needs to be specific. It should be positive. I had someone else in the room said that at the beginning. Feedback should be positive. It should not be negative. And I want to point this out. If you've not been in the habit of giving regular feedback and you ask one of your team members, like, "Hey, can you step into my office?" If you've never done that, they might think, "Oh my gosh, what's happening? Am I going to get fired?" Even though that's the most ludicrous thing ever, like you have a top performer, but if you've never given them feedback, it can be really scary. In order to get that scariness out, you just got to do it consistently. So it should be positive, and they won't know if it's going to be positive unless you start demonstrating what that looks like. I'd like to know from you, what else should feedback be?
Open-ended.
Open-ended. Can you explain more?
You need to make, if you're dealing with someone who's doing a very positive thing, you want them to understand that beyond that, there's more they can do. You can't just say, "That was good." You need to say, "Continue and improve."
Thank you for being willing to expound and for having the microphone. I love what you said, is it's a continual journey of growth. We want them to see how those behaviors can be repeated and even improved. So if we're thinking about coaching in the sense of like basketball, I think Michael Jordan, he was arguably one of the best basketball players in the history of basketball. He had a coach, right? And that coach was at every game, and that coach constantly gave him feedback. So don't miss out on the fact that you have top performers who need that feedback to get even better. Thank you for sharing that. Anything else that feedback should be or shouldn't be?
Feedback should be honest. I think sometimes we're not courageous enough to give honest feedback. It still can be positive, but it still needs to be honest.
Love it, one.
I think you should also include some element of the story, like the why, right? So not just be really specific and positive and honest, but also to explain to them why that thing they did was, really helpful to the organization or to you, so they recognize, okay, that sort of behavior is what Renae's asking for, and now I understand why, so I can look for, more opportunities to do the same. Yeah. We have one more in the room. I'll get you the mic.
I read an article written by another attorney who said that, feedback shouldn't be conclusions. Like you said, Renae, good job. Like good job is just really a conclusion, but that we should aspire more to be praising our employees and also, praising them enough in between other things that could be more constructive so that they feel on the whole more motivated.
Love it.
Renae, I've got one.
Sure. You ran it over.
Thank you. I think it's really important that feedback is timely, because if you have some constructive feedback to give somebody and you wait 3 weeks, a lot of the details and what's going to be received from that feedback could be muddled by then. So,
Amen to that.
Carrie.
Nice to meet you, Carrie.
Thanks, you too.
So Carrie brings us to our next point, coaching in the moment. Carrie has no idea. Carrie's like, what are you going to talk about?
Yeah.
Carrie is our CEO, and he is an amazing human. I'm so glad that you came. You probably don't know what I'm going to say yet.
Thank you, but yeah.
So, as Carrie just said, feedback should be in the moment. I have a story for you. Actually, it was so Jessica on my team and Rachel on my team. They went to this credit union New Ideas conference with credit unions from all over the territory. And the conference facilitator split everybody up in groups, and she said, I want you to come up with ideas that can help credit unions be innovative and supportive of their members. I may not have all that right, but just gist of it. So, of course, Rachel and Jessica were in a group, and their group said, y'all are going to present. We're not going to do that. So they got up on stage, and they pitched their idea to the whole conference. And after the conference, so shortly after they gave their pitch, the conference ended, and our CEO was there, Jerry, and he went and found them. He sought them out, and he said, I want to give you some feedback. And he gave them specific feedback on their pitch. He talked about the ideas and how they could actually work. He described the impact. That was coaching in the moment. And when Jessica and Rachel got back to the office, and Jessica came in, she's like, guess what? Jerry gave us feedback. She was fired up. So when you work for an organization where the leadership from the top down is saying feedback is important, it's so important that not only am I going to say I support it, but I support it in my actions. It is a beautiful thing. And we're hiring, so we're an amazing place. You can go on bhfcu.com and apply. So maybe I'd mention this. We have this system that we use for coaching, and that system is what I call 3 to 1 or 3 to none. Have you heard of it? Okay. So 3 to 1 means 3 went wells. 3 went well. So 3 positive, specific things that went well, and 1 opportunity. That is 1 thing to work on. Or 3 to none, which is just 3 things that went well and no opportunities. Okay? It's really important that you don't give more than 1 opportunity, even if they beg you for it. This is, I'll stick on this slide. So my team, they've been getting feedback from me for a long time, and they give each other feedback. And what we know is that it's important that we only give 1 opportunity, because really, as people, it's hard to fix multiple things at the same time. So if you give 1 opportunity, they can work on that 1 thing for next time. And the beauty about consistent coaching and feedback is if there was something else, you can catch that the next time around. And I don't want you to apply this to every scenario. If you have a situation where you have someone who has completely missed the mark, everything was wrong, that is not a 3 to 1 conversation. That's different. And we're not talking about that today. I just want to point out that that's a different conversation. There's still a way to do that respectfully and kindly and clearly. We have to be willing to give clear and constructive feedback. And I have an example, so now you know what this could look like. So this is roughly what happened with one of my team members running a meeting. I just changed the name to protect the team member. So Jessica, I'll just say it. You did a fantastic job facilitating the meeting this morning. You gave a warm welcome to the participants. You had a natural transitions from speaker to speaker, and you managed the questions well, even though there were a few challenging ones. Keeping the meeting on track helped everyone get the information they needed and resulting in the meeting getting done on time. I've underlined the opportunity. and I think I had to actually make this one up. So we had to come up with something that she did that needed to be improved, and we had to make it up. To further increase your effectiveness, strive for beginning the meeting on time. This will encourage participants to arrive at your meetings on time and ready to participate. You consistently run meetings effectively, which provides staff a wonderful example of how to run an effective meeting. Keep up the great work. So that's an example of describing specific feedback with the impact and having an opportunity. Oftentimes when I give my team an opportunity, they will say, what was the opportunity? I was like, I gave you one. And they'll say, yeah, but that was just nothing. That was just easy. Yeah. Opportunities don't have to feel like opportunities. It's just tweaking one thing to be even better, to elevate your performance. I already said this, don't get more than one, even if they beg you for it, which is sometimes what happens with my team. Just give me another one, come on, that doesn't feel like an opportunity. Hold to it. I am a strong leader, I don't get more than one. One other thing I'd like to share with the opportunity, when you're giving this 3-to-1 or 3-to-none feedback, it's important to take into account the individual that you're giving feedback to and their experience at whatever they're performing. So if it was the first time Jessica ran a meeting and it was like 90% amazing, and the thing that I would have given for an opportunity was really not that big of a deal, it didn't really make that big of an impact, I would just choose to give all the went wells. But if this is her 4th time running a meeting, hang on a second, I give her an opportunity. So you want to take into account the experience and the newness of whatever that task that's being completed. And one other thing that I do, especially because I have a seasoned team, I will ask them, so what did you like about that presentation that you gave? What was your favorite part? So it, as you stated earlier, it should be open, that open dialogue too. So what was your favorite part? And then I want them to think about what it was that they liked. And then I will often ask them for more, and then I'll give them some specifics. And for the opportunity, if I didn't see anything that could have been better, for the life of me, I can't find a single thing that they could have done differently, which happens. I will say, so Jessica, was there anything under the surface that was going on that you wish would have been better? And I make them think and give me an answer because I can't see what's going on underneath. I don't know if they had struggles internally. So I want to be there to help them, one, think about it, talk it through, and figure out how they can get better for next time. Any questions on feedback? All right. Number 4, don't be a problem solver. This is really hard. It's really, really hard. Many of us are in leadership positions because we care about helping people and we want to support them and we want to be there to give them the answers. And maybe we want to share our experience because we've done some things wrong and we've figured out how to make it work. And so we want to help our team members through those challenges by giving them the answer. And I'm asking you not to give the answer. When you solve problems for other people, you are robbing them of a development opportunity. You are robbing them of the critical thinking skills in that moment. So, don't solve their problems. Ask them questions. So how do you not solve problems? Well, listen with curiosity, not judgment. Listen empathically and ask questions like, oh, that really sounds like a challenge or really an opportunity for us. What do you think we could do to solve that? And if it's the first time you've ever asked someone to tell you what they think, they might say, that's why I'm in here in your office, because I have no idea what to do. So that's why I'm here. If I knew how to solve it, I wouldn't be in your office, right? So it could be uncomfortable and they could challenge you on that. And you can just say, you know what? I want to help you develop your critical thinking skills. And this is one way that we can do this because I want you to be able to think through these problems in the future and be able to be efficient on your own without me. And I will be here for the really hard stuff. And eventually you'll be able to do all that on your own too. We want to develop people and build their skills up so that they can just be massively successful. So this could be a little painful when you're doing this process because there's some uncomfortable silence. You just have to be comfortable in the silence and let them think and let them process. And also cut yourself some slack too, especially if this is new for you. It's not new for me. I'm not perfect at it. Sometimes I'll catch myself mid-sentence. I start solving the problem and I say, sorry, I need to ask you to solve this. And then they'll go, oh, I thought I was gonna get a free pass. So don't give those free passes. I promise your team will grow, but it won't be without growing pains. The last item is creating an environment for peer-to-peer feedback and recognition. And I just have real high level on this. We and the learning and performance team, feedback flows freely all the time. It's like the air that we breathe. We're constantly giving feedback. Jessica led a meeting this morning for our entire lender team, and she was facilitating virtually from her office. And after the meeting, I walked out and I asked her a couple questions about how it went and what she liked. And then I looked to her teammate and I said, Brandon, I'd love to hear the feedback you have for Jessica. So we do an open coaching where we hear the positive wells of all the people on the team and even the opportunities. Now, those situations where it's everything went wrong, those ones don't happen in public. But the coaching moments can happen in public, especially if you're doing them well. Another thing that we do at the Learning and Performance team is we have a weekly team meeting, and we start out with what's the good word? And this is a time for us to share successes for the week, things that are going on amazingly in our personal life, or it's a time for us to recognize our peers for the work that they've done during the week. And having that at our team meeting continues to build relationships and maintain relationships, and it also brings positivity. And it just creates this culture where feedback is not only given, but it's an expectation. And it's something that we really don't even think about. It just really, it happens now because it's functioned so well. And another way, if I ever have a new position open on my team, the second round interviews, I bring my whole team in on those interviews. And I tell the applicant that at the end of their presentation, everybody in the room will give them a piece of feedback. So before someone even joins my team, I want them to know that this is how we operate feedback. And lastly, I encourage them to provide feedback outside of our team when they see things that go well. So it doesn't just stay in L&P. I want that to extend out. And one of my favorite things is when I get carboned on an email because one of my team members is recognizing another leader in our organization or another employee. It's a beautiful thing. I'd like to leave you with this. This is a quote from Stephen R. Covey. One of the greatest gifts you can give another human being is constructive feedback on a blind spot they never knew they had. It is a great disservice not to say what needs to be said because it isn't comfortable. Care enough to give honest, accurate feedback. With that, what questions do you have for me? Can I give you the microphone?
My question is around, so in my organization, there's been really a big shift around driving to performance. So those who weren't getting feedback are now giving feedback, and it feels like feedback fatigue. What's your recommendation to get past that and get into the mind shift that you shared with us today?
You just stumped the teacher. I'm actually going to see if anyone in the room wants to share their experience before I answer. Jessica?
I think about it from an individual level, having a mindset shift that feedback is going to help you grow personally and professionally. And if you do want to grow, then you'll take every bit of that with gratitude and expectation of more coming forward.
In my experience, I think where the fatigue sets in is when we all know there's this expectation that I'm going to give feedback and I have to, so I have to find these things, and they're not as meaningful if they're not specific. So I think if you follow Renae's steps and try to find things that are specific and meaningful and speak to the development that that individual wants, there's a lot less fatigue because they recognize the value for them versus like, I just know I have to have these three and then I have to have this one, and these are meaningful to you, so there's less fatigue. But it is a shift. I mean, you have to have some bit of patience to say, you recognize this is a change and keep communicating this expectation because it's going to make us better.
So I recently joined an organization and they did not do feedback as well. And so I'm coming in, I was driving feedback, and I think the big shift, what Jess said, was making sure they understood it was genuine, that this was to help them. It wasn't all about the business and driving the business goal and everything was about bottom line. It was really about helping them to be better and helping them grow and helping them see things in themselves they hadn't seen before. So I think if there's a fatigue, making sure, we had fatigue, it was making sure they understood it was about them to help them, and it wasn't just so much about the man.
Which starts with relationship.
That's
right? Actually meet that and then care enough to give. I think that's a big piece of it too, is that we have to have maybe less formal conversations with that person first to figure out what it is they really want, or the areas that are important to them, to provide meaningful feedback that isn't just a checkbox.
The other thing I'd recommend too is if you give that opportunity, do a follow-up later. So if they do another presentation, did they do what you had talked about with them? So then it even adds more to it, or follow up with them later to be like, hey, we talked through this. How are you feeling about this? Do you have questions? Do we need to, so that way it's also showing them. It's not just I gave it to you one time and now I'm going to move on to something else, and then it's never revisited.
I'd like to speak to what you said about follow-up and talk a little bit about your question too. When you're having those coaching discussions and giving an opportunity, ask them how they think they can incorporate that. So it shouldn't be I'm going to tell you what to do and how to do it. It should be a conversation. And then the other thing you can do, and this can come out in those one-on-ones or even coaching, asking them, what is your biggest struggle? What is the thing that you want to get better at? So involve them in that coaching development. Do we have another question, Sandy?
My question is, what feedback or tips would you give to somebody who takes over a leadership position in which trust was broken by their predecessor? That's different than building your own.
I think not changing everything the second you walk in the door could be one. Getting to know the employees and building that relationship, I think that's the first thing. Is just showing them through your actions, your behavior, that you're there to support them. Leadership is about taking care of those in your charge. So show how you care. Does that help? Yes.
I would even suggest ask them what are their expectations of you, and if it's you in that position or whoever that is, what do they expect? What do they want? What are they wanting out of this? Because then it starts opening that door for them to start offering things versus coming in and saying, here's what I expect.
Any other questions? Yes, Josh.
Other than becoming a local celebrity, I want to know what your greatest leadership takeaway has been from the Day of Excellence.
Oh, wow. Oh, how much time do we have? So, Josh just asked me a question about Day of Excellence, and I do have something to share about that. So I've been on the board for lots and lots of years, and I'm part of the speaker selection committee. And there was a speaker that I was like, he's people are going to love him. I just wasn't super jazzed, so I'm admitting that. I knew he would be great, but I was just wondering how he would connect. And I'll tell you that that man told this story that was so powerful. It has lasted for years in my life. And it was about him showing up for his son. So he had a little boy that would always say, "Daddy, watch me. Daddy, watch me." So they were at this house where there was a pool party, and his kid's like, "Daddy, watch me." And Mark Madison is his name. Mark said, "When my son jumped into the pool, I knew that I better be not only watching him jump in, but make sure I was watching when he popped out. So that he knew that his dad was paying attention, he was watching him, and he was looking to praise." So being present in the moment with leadership and showing up for your team is one of my biggest takeaways from Bhfcu. Thanks, Dash. Anything else? Okay, with that, I'll turn it back over to Laura.
That was outstanding. And that's what I appreciate mostly about these luncheons are just the diversity of the leaders that we have in this community. So thank you, Renae. That was fantastic. Now we're going to do our books drawing. I'll have you pick from the basket here, Renae. First one will be for the Advantage. Is there Stacy? Stacy G. All right. And then this is the book Renae donated. It's Everyone Deserves a Great Manager. Bob L. Holly, do you want to draw for our free luncheon, future luncheon? Carrie Lassel?
Yeah.
Carrie Lassel. All right.
Thank you.
So thank you again, Renae. Thank you, Black Hills Federal Credit Union, for sponsoring our luncheon. We have our next scheduled luncheon for May 16th. And we have Suzanne Campbell. She'll be speaking, and she's from Monument Health. So thank you again for attending, and have a great month. We'll see you in April.
I have my list. I was like, I should have told you. It is hard. I'm like, oh my God.